geez, a lot of power, a lot of performance for the street. No doubt about it. I mean, this is the kind of car that's going to definitely give you, we were just talking about it, some white knuckle experiences, you know, especially when you get into the higher RPMs and the higher speeds, because there's not as much downforce on this car as there is on like the STO, right? But I mean, that's 120. Incredible amount of performance when you really rev the car out, right? And again, we're not, I mean, that's not even full beans, right? That's probably 90% of what it could give you. So again, just a lot of X factor and a lot of performance in this particular car. And you gotta know how to drive, guys, because if you don't appreciate it, she's gonna bite you. I will tell you though, the dual clutch is amazing. Just doing some quick shifts like that, like it's PDK good. Hey, look at that. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Driven Productions. My name's Adam, if you're new to the channel. So today we're talking about the Lamborghini, a 2016 Lamborghini Huracan, or Huracan for us Americans here. And this is the LP580-2. I know, it's a bunch of weird numbers, 610-4, 580-2, all this crazy stuff. But this is basically put it in a nutshell for you, okay? This has the V10, so does the 610-4, but the key difference with this particular vehicle, it is a rear wheel drive car. Only rear wheel drive, okay? Has a little less power, but also a little less weight because it doesn't have the front drive, right? So I was really interested to check this car out. My friend John, who I'm gonna bring on camera in just a second, recently purchased it. And obviously, he also went to the Gold Rush Rally, the Atlantic Tour, and this was really a bucket list thing for him. And so I reached out to him, I said, hey, how was your experience? Would you like to talk about it briefly on camera? And I'd also love to check out your new lady, because I think he's had this not even 3 months. And we took it through its paces today on the street, nothing crazy. It's not a track drive or anything like that, but we did, 7/10 on the street. Got to hear it, experience it. I think this video will help you out tremendously if you're looking to buy one of these. These were a lot of value, guys, and this is roughly a $250,000, $300,000 car based on spec. You probably could find some in the high or mid threes with all the goodies, right? But in general, this started just under $200,000, and most of these are gonna be a $225,000 to $260,000 MSRP car. These are holding their value really well. These are what they call a hackable car, right? I mean, you could pick one of these up for $200,000 to $230,000 based on spec, miles, and condition. Probably safe money, guys. It's a lot of exotic car. It's very low slung, as you'll see in the point of view drive. But we're gonna cover all the details today. I hope you enjoy the content. So feel free to use the chapters below, okay? You can scroll through to just the POV Drive or just hear from John, the owner. I hope you enjoy. If you do, if you think we did an okay job, go ahead and drop a comment below, share it with a friend. If you think we did a terrible job, hey, go in the comment and flame us, all right? That's cool too. John, man, honored to be your friend now for a few years. Thanks for coming to the HQ.
Thanks for the invite, appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. And bring in this beautiful lady here. So, you've had a couple of cool cars. In fact, we reviewed your Rawson Q1, I believe that is, right?
Yep.
Q1, that was what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I'll put a link right up here on the right side, guys, if you want to check out that video. But what's been your car progression so far, if you want to share with the folks? And then how did you end up with this beautiful thing? So.
God, my car progression's been all over the place. Started out with muscle cars.
Okay.
Got into 68 Camaros and Novas and El Caminos and turning wrenches, engines, transmissions, doing all that. And then met some friends, and they were more into the exotic scene. And so my cars were for straight line and not for the track. And so
Sure.
sold the Camaro and ended up getting my first Lotus.
Okay.
So that was back in end of 2005.
What was your first Lotus?
It was a Lotus Elise.
Elise, I had one of those.
Yeah, fun car.
Little 2-liter Camry engine, right? But
very reliable,
yes.
Extremely fun, very engaging, yeah.
Great values too, guys. Pick one up if you can.
Yeah, those things seem to be going up every year.
They are, every year. It's like with inflation, right? 2-3% higher.
Yep. So after having the Lotus, I realized it's not a daily driver.
No.
Too hard.
Hard to get in and out of, very uncomfortable.
Can't run and get groceries and that. And so I think after that, I ended up getting a Porsche 911 Carrera S, which was great for daily driving. Wasn't quite as fast as I wanted on track.
Yeah.
And
was
so
that
then
996 or 997?
That was 997.
997.
Yep, 997.
Perfect car.
Yeah, great car.
Beautiful car.
Great car. Wasn't quite as fast, so I ended up getting into a Z06, which was
naturally.
yeah. Got into a Z06.
C6.
C6 Z06.
C6.
Yeah,
Oh,
got into
one
that.
of their best cars ever, right?
Great car. I mean, it was absolutely amazing on track. I mean, it was very at home, very uncivilized on the streets.
Right.
Tail end was all over the place, and
Kind of like this, actually.
yeah. So then I kind of missed the Porsche refinement, so I went
Sure.
back to Porsche and picked up a Cayman S
Okay.
981.
Arguably their best car.
Great, phenomenal car, very well balanced. And then yeah, I don't think. Oh, and then I picked up the Rawson.
Yep.
The Rawson is just, you know, after having the Lotus, it was like the Lotus on steroids, right?
Yeah.
Handles great, but now it's V6 twin turbo, a lot more power.
Yep.
And then that car's been great and love it, but since you know I was a young kid, I was one of the.
Aspired to have. The
I had that
exotic
Lamborghini poster,
right?
yep,
Yeah.
on the wall like everybody else, and so I kind of
What
put
car
up in
guy
this
doesn't,
pedestal.
right?
Yeah.
Why the 580? You know, versus 610. You know, kind of similar priced on the market. I noticed too, which is interesting.
So initially I started looking at the Gallardos,
Okay.
and then for the increase in price on the Huracans, you know, I just felt like there was a lot more reliability there with the DCT transmission.
Right.
You know, I love the look of this car too, and then I just figured operating costs were going to be
Yeah, that's a good point.
a lot less expensive, and so reliability, and I want to drive the car. And so the Huracan really caught my attention. I love the DCT transmission in it, and so, you know, that's kind of where my journey began with looking at the Huracans. And so initially I was looking at the 610-4, like, you know, this is the
Sure.
first generation of the Huracan
Yeah.
before the
When I
Evos
reached out
came.
to you, that's what I actually thought this was. Because you can't really tell the difference. A little bit of styling in the front, and that's it.
Yeah, just some
I mean,
styling
it's
changes. And
exactly the
so
same.
I had driven the 610-4, and a couple of my friends told me to actually go towards the 580-2, but they said drive it first. So I drove the 610-4, and the first thing I noticed was, I mean, it's fast and it sounds amazing, and but the steering felt really heavy, especially coming from the Rawson.
Yeah,
And so
that's interesting.
I immediately jumped into a 580-2, and it was a lot more light, not nearly as light as the Rawson, but still it was a lot more light. It just felt a little bit more, you know, engaging, a little bit more tail happy. And so for me, it was just about fun factor. And that's kind of like why I kind of really was, you know, really kind of focused on the 580-2.
Yeah, because it's really not a price thing, guys. I mean, the 580 was about $40,000 less than the 610-4, but on the used market in 2024, there's maybe a 20K spread between them from when I was doing my research. So it's not a huge, you know, jump from one to the other.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the forums, and it was kind of split. You know, you had the people that love the 610s, you have the people that love the 580s. And so after you drive both of them, I think it's just about finding which one you're more comfortable with and
Right.
you enjoy more. But then I kind of got spoiled by driving the 610s because I really liked the carbon ceramic brakes, which were standard on 610s, but didn't come standard on these camo steels. You know, I loved the, you know, the glass rear bonnet rather than the louvered. I love the, you know, forged carbon. So that was kind of the things I had to have on this car. Front lift too.
Yep.
So it made it a little bit more difficult because the 580 being an entry-level car, their entry-level car.
Sure.
Not a lot of them spec'd all these extra costs because now you're in the 610 range
Right.
price-wise, but
Right.
I really wanted the rear-wheel drive.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, you know, that you got a lot of the upgrades that you wanted, right?
Yeah.
And really for you, it sounds like the driving of the rear bias with the lighter steering, and it is a lot more fun than an all-wheel drive car. Now, you should know, guys, that I believe Car and Driver did the 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds in the 610-4. I believe this is 0.3 more than that they did. So you do lose some frontline performance. You were in the Gold Rush Rally. You actually brought this car, obviously, because it's liveried to the nines, right, with all their fun promotional stuff. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I've been wanting to do this for a number of years. You know, I good friends with the person who runs it, know the owners, and who've been putting this on since back in 2009, I believe. And I've seen a lot of my friends go on it, and it's not a inexpensive rally, but
No.
it's put together extremely well, very well organized. You know, 5-star hotels, excellent roads, everything's very well planned out. So.
Can you share a little bit on the pricing? Would you mind?
Yeah, so the full rally, which this year was from Boston down to Boca Raton, Florida. That was, yeah, it's a
That's
long,
a long drive.
and the people that did the rally, because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not taking direct paths, you're going off the
Of
beaten
course.
path and
It's a full
visiting.
10 days, week?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like 5, or the full rally, I think it was like 10 days, 9 days,
Yeah,
something like that.
It takes a while to get from Boston to Florida. Okay.
But that rally, so the full rally was 25,000. If you want to do the half rally, which is what I did, that was from Boston to South Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah, really nice. It was, the car arrived. They had people that were there to accept the vehicle, and then they started delivery on the car.
Yep.
And there was also someone else who was, offering their services. So I did add the Clearplex windshield protection because I didn't want to worry about a windshield.
It sounds like you did that because you got hit a couple of times.
Yeah, got a few nicks on there, and so the windshield's unfortunately not inexpensive. So
no, nothing is inexpensive on a Lamborghini. Okay? That is a fact.
But yeah, so they take care of everything. Showed up, and hotel check-in. There's like a check-in day, and on check-in, we got a ton of cool swag, including the shirt. I think I got like half a dozen T-shirts. Got a cool jacket. Just all kinds of cool swag. It's very well organized. You get checked into your hotel, and they have dinner planned, they have nightclubs planned, they have food in the morning, driver's meeting, and then we're off.
Nice.
You're driving for a good portion of the day. They give you a couple different locations where you can choose where you want to have lunch. Obviously, you can go on your own, but they provide specific driving routes.
Nobody really goes off on their own. You're all together, right? Car to car, and kind of doing your own thing.
The groups kind of get split up, and it just gets random.
Yeah,
one day you and I may be driving together and doing things together, and then you want to stop and I don't, and then you get part of another group, and so there's like a bunch of different groups. How
did you know where to go? Did they give you like an app or something, or every day you had a list of directions? Or?
So both. So we get a sheet that gives you a list of like the directions. So you get the paper one printed out, and they give those to you every morning. And then there's also I don't know if you're familiar with the Joiner app.
No, but you'll tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the Joiner app is really cool because it, inside there you can log in, and then you can see the exact route. You can see where you're at. You can turn on your GPS. So can everybody else. So now you see where everybody in the rally is, and so you can see.
If I wanted to find John, I could actually find where exactly you are.
Oh yeah.
Link up with you.
Yep. It'll show me and share my speed and everything, and you can see like which route I'm going. Some people going off different paths. Some people wanted to take the direct path to the different locations, but very high speeds, and some people got caught and got ticketed, of course.
I saw some reels.
I ended up getting actually a ticket in the mail 2 days ago.
Oh, did you?
So New York City apparently changed the rules, and I was going through a school zone, which even though it was on Saturday at 4 p.m., apparently they changed it to 24-hour school zones even on the weekends.
Wow.
And so I was going 1 mile over their speed, so it's a 25 mile per hour speed limit. If you go over 35, you get ticketed. So I got a ticket for doing 36 in a 25. So I got 11 miles, and I was going, actually the reason why I was going so slow is there's so many potholes in New York City, and so.
Number one takeaway from the rally, would you recommend it?
Absolutely. If you have the chance, again, for me, it was a bucket list item. Like, I have a lot of friends who, run the rally every single year, a lot of friends who attend it. Yeah. And it's just a great event. You meet some amazing people. It's just a lot of fun. Like, if you're a car enthusiast who loves to drive, you like being around other car enthusiasts who just are very fun, inclusive type people. I can't say enough positive things about it. It was a great experience.
John, let's talk a little bit about the piece de resistance of the Lamborghini here, and that is this glorious V10. So what do you know about it?
It's a V10, 5.2 liters, and there's two versions of this. Obviously, the main version was the first version came out in the 610-4. It was rated at 610 metric horsepower, which translates to, I believe, 602 horsepower. And then now this version, they did detune it for the 580.
It's got 572, right?
So yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay.
So
do you know what the torque is?
I don't know what the torque numbers are.
Right, I'll put it on the bottom, guys, but it's got to be at least 4 something.
Yeah.
It feels pretty spicy down low.
Yeah, my best guess is, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but probably in the 470 range.
It feels pretty high. Yeah. It's got a lot of power, this thing.
Yep. And then, for the option for the rear, the only option is I did really want the, the forged carbon fiber engine cover. So that was another option, as well as the glass.
This engine, man, I don't know if you detailed the heck out of it, but it's like you can eat off of it. It's clean. So the car only has what, 13,000 miles, so it should be clean.
13,000.
Does this ever get any water in it when you're driving and stuff? Is it kind of gunk up?
A little bit. A little bit does come in here, and so I typically detail the cars after every time I drive it.
Sure, it's part of the fun, right?
Yeah.
Let it cool off and then get into it.
Exactly, you got it.
I will tell you guys, it is putting off some heat. Man, you could you could heat a small house with this thing. I mean, this is making my AC work today. It's a really good looking car from the back. I mean, there's really no bad lines anywhere on this particular vehicle, guys. Now let's show the inside real quick, John. So what do you like about it? I mean, obviously you got my spec, the red with the black. Big fan of that. Little Alcantara here on the door, right? Which is kind of cool. Very cool looking design. You can see here you got the Huracan plaque with the Huracan. You got aluminum pedals here. And all of your controls are kind of in the center stack. So I'll jump in the car. So walk us through the interior of this thing, John. So I always thought this was a fun little party trick, right? So you've got your start-stop switch, and you can push it right through here. But if you do feel like doing the fighter jet, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of fun. Your front lift is right here. This big TFT screen here, guys. And just notice all the details. You got leather stitching. You got Alcantara here and in the door inserts. I wonder if that's an upgrade package or if they all come like that.
I think the upgrade package actually puts Alcantara everywhere, including up here.
So this is still leather.
Correct.
And it feels nice. Like everything's really punched up, guys. So I will tell you, even though you're paying $200,000, you're getting a quality interior. Nice leather steering wheel here. Big old. I'm sure these could be in carbon fiber if you wanted or something ridiculous. I'm sure they offer these upgrades like the Vanquish did. But in the end of the day, I would recommend just keeping them. They feel great. Are these aftermarket?
No, these are stock.
These are stock. Guys, look at the size of this. I mean, that is a serious paddle shifter. I mean, man, that's something you see on a racing sim or something. Leather here too, it's very nice.
You know, the first thing I noticed when I looked at the cars, and you'll notice it throughout, even on the outside, is everything is a hexagon shape. Right. So the airbag's hexagon, the anime buttons hexagon.
Yeah, even here's hex.
You know, even the
hex.
Air conditioning vents here.
Yep.
You know, throughout the starter button here.
Yep.
The speaker grills. I mean, literally everything is. Even the airbag. Even the airbag cut out there is hexagon shape. And when you move outside too, when you start looking at the grills,
right,
you'll notice that shape carry through.
It's all through here as well.
Yep.
Like you said, the AC works great. There was no rattling in this car, guys. Like, it's really a well-built car. It doesn't suffer from a lot of the negatives that old Lamborghinis had. And I think a lot of that comes from the German DNA when Audi purchased the company and kind of put their engineers on it, right? Whatever voodoo they do in interior cars, like those Porsches are world class as far as build quality, and all of that trickled down into this car, in my personal.
So I just picked this one up 3 months ago. I think I probably got it at a good time because like right in the middle of January with all that ice that we had, and so there wasn't a whole lot of inventory moving around.
Sure. You
know, this part of the country. And so, you know, at the time, price, like, I mean, the very bottom floor of all the cars that I looked at were right about 190, 190 plus. And so, but those ones were typically the higher mileage, you know, the 40, yep, 50, 60,000 miles cars, you know, 7 owners. So this one, you know, didn't have all that history, and this one had all been maintained by one dealership too. So,
sure,
you know, I would just say looking at the Carfax is obviously good because then you can see the number of owners it has.
Yep.
Making sure, you know, maintenance records are positive because inside the owner's manual, if it's maintained by the Lamborghini dealership, they actually sign off the certificates on each one. So
this one has that.
Yeah, so I did see that. So you can see every single service was completed.
You want to show that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll get that out for you. I'll show you guys.
Sure that.
Yeah, so here's the manuals, guys. Nice little package Lamborghini gives you.
So let's see your warranty maintenance book. So yep, there's like the VIN information.
Yeah.
And then I think it's, where's it? Maybe it's towards the back. Yeah, here's where the service confirmations, they start filling them all out. Lamborghini, Ohio, pre-delivery, and then all the different records of when everything was done by the dealerships.
Cool. It's very Ferrari-like, isn't it? So that's nice, and especially for the European market. Americans aren't too concerned about this stuff because it's all Carfax, like you said. But it's nice to have that, right? A little peace of mind. Sure looks nice. I got to say, the marketing materials, you know, nice quality. That's a sexy looking car. You gotta admit, that is a good looking car, guys. You know, a lot of people gave him some flack for the, you know, changing to the Gallardo to that kind of design. I mean, it's still very Lamborghini, but it was more on the modern side. And I think that design, I mean, it's just beautiful. It's aging so well. There's no bad lines on it. And I think it looks as modern as it did when it came out in 2015. Last thing I wanted to share with you guys is the practicality of the Huracan or the Huracan. You do have a little bit of a front trunk here with the ability to charge your car, I can see. Now on the Gold Rush Rally, how difficult was it to use the car? I mean, you obviously are taking road trip. Was it pretty tricky? You had to pack real light, I
yeah, so if you have a carry-on, it actually fits, one carry-on fits in here perfectly.
Okay.
A second carry-on, you're kind of screwed. Now, one thing about Gold Rush, which I didn't mention, was so they have a whole luggage carrier service that they offer.
Oh, that's nice.
And so everybody's allowed to provide their bags. So we each gave our bags to each morning exactly, and then the crew would take off.
Well, that's nice because a lot of those cars, there's no storage. I mean, if you get a new 3RS, there's nothing.
Yeah, that was
you don't even have a friggin' trunk.
One of the most popular cars for the rally this year was the Urus because all the practicality of it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Urus Performante, I'm sure. Yeah, you had a whole 5-seater with the back and everything. Well, cool. I mean, look, it's an exotic car, guys. We were just talking. We were watching a video from Pejman Gadimi, Exotic Car Hacks, and he's saying now that these aren't exotic cars. It's still a very exotic car. Yes, the reality is, with all the new money that's been coming out, with all the Bitcoin monies and all this, frothiness in the market, you're seeing more and more Lamborghinis. You're seeing more and more Huracans from that point of view. But in no world is this ever not going to be considered an exotic car, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, they're definitely more. You see a lot more of them, but that's with every brand, right? I mean,
100%.
Porsche's making more cars, McLaren's making more cars, Ferrari,
everything for that matter. All right, guys, we're in the Lamborghini Huracan 580-2. This is the rear-wheel drive version. I have never driven this car before. John's with me here, mic'd up. We're going to start off here in automatic mode. Literally, first impressions here, guys. Never driven this car before. You're seeing it with me for the first time. So, starting out, I gotta say, butter transmission, very easy to drive. We're in automatic mode. We're gonna drive over to the place where we get those cool drone shots for you guys, and then we'll go ahead and switch and actually take it down some fun B roads. We'll do the manual paddle shifter, get a good flavor for how it actually is when you're going 710, right? Obviously, we're not on a track today, we're on public streets, so we're not gonna go anything crazy. But at least you get a good impression if you're looking to buy one of these. Now, I will tell you, the steering's pretty heavy. I'm in sport mode. Now, John, does it lighten up when I'm in Strata mode?
No, okay, it's the same.
Now, do we need the lift for something like this?
No, just as long as you hit it slow, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, they put some pretty hefty speed bumps in the neighborhood here recently. I will tell you, it is a low-slung car, more so than the R8. They share very similar technology, but at the end of the day, this does feel more like a fighter jet. And yeah, the visibility is fine, don't get me wrong, because they have the opening in the A-pillar here, but in the end of the day, it is tight in here. And if you're a big guy, 6'2", not even sure you're gonna fit, honestly. I mean, I've got 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches, and I'm 6 feet tall, so if you do a lot of track driving, I've heard a lot of guys struggle with the Huracans, right, because of that. It's hard to wear a helmet, right? I think you're going to be fine, right?
Oh yeah, fine. Yeah.
You're not the 6'2" guy, but that is something to definitely take into consideration if you're looking to buy this car. You absolutely should test drive one. Make sure you can fit. I mean, it's a sports car. It's designed for smaller Italian guys. So I will tell you though, it does feel like a sports car, right? No doubt about it. Like even in sport mode and just lugging it around here, like it feels and sounds like a Lamborghini. And I like that, it has a sense of occasion to it, just going 40 miles an hour, right? Whereas some of these new Porsches and whatnot we review, right? I mean, unless you're going 8K on the red line, they kind of just sound like a normal 911. This sounds like something special, from below.
Yes. Now, if you want to have more of that cruise comfort situation,
you can go into Strata.
If you go into Strata, you'll notice everything really smooths out.
You could absolutely daily drive this car, though. I mean, it's pretty quiet in here. You and I can have a conversation, no problem.
Yeah, we just drove 2,000 miles back from Boston.
Yeah, 2,000 miles, wow. I want to point out, guys, when you start the car, it's kind of odd. It gives you your FM radio settings, and then, of course, you have a couple of other, temperature gauge and whatnot, but it's annoying because you maybe don't want that dual screen look, and so you have to go down to this little triangle right here and hold it down for about 1.5 seconds twice. So So every time you get in the car, you have to do that. I just wanted to point that out. It's a little annoying. John was just telling me that, you know, obviously every time you get in your car to have to do that. Now, I will say, guys, it's going to take some getting used to here with the turn signals. It's not a stock, so it's very Tesla-like, and that, the new Tesla-like anyways, where everything is going to be on the wheel here. You know, obviously, when you make the turn, it auto stops, but you could also push it in the middle to turn it off yourself. But yeah, it's a little getting used to. You also have everything on the steering wheel, including your brights, right, and your windshield wipers. Pros and cons, you know, Porsche's gone with the GT wheel with nothing, and then this one has everything on it. So it seems like Lamborghini and Ferrari are in the same camp there with everything, you know, the Manantino switch and whatnot is on the wheel. There's no side stocks. On this back road here, we're almost to the road I get to have a little bit of fun on. But again, we're in Strata mode here, 60 miles an hour. This is a really rough road. I can tell you it's pretty comfortable. The road noise isn't too bad. Are these PS4 tires? What tires are on here?
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. I think if you had the Trofeos or you had some Cup tires on here, it's going to be significantly louder. It's going to tramline a lot more. But with these tires, it's pretty dailyable, like I said earlier. I mean, it's very comfortable. John's over here like, put it in sport mode, put it in sport mode. I'm like, I will get there, don't worry. But I just wanted to share with you, like, this is a car that really great dual personality. I mean, is it as good as the Turbo S for dual personality? Probably not. That's supercar fast with very much comfort, but this is close, right? But again, I don't know if you ever want a Lamborghini to be that, you know, comfortable, right? It should always have a little X factor, a little bit like I'm gonna kill you factor, a little X factor with the engine note and stuff. And even in the least performance mode, it has that, and I appreciate it. All right, guys, we're gonna go into sport mode here, and then we'll do Corsa a little bit, but I'm gonna put it in manual. So that's automatic. So when it goes into automatic, it has a little A, just as a heads up there. So now we're in first. So these are our fun back roads here. Again, this is gonna be 710. All right, nothing crazy. You know, we're on public streets. But just listen to the note of that V10. Unbelievably loud. Sounds really, really good. A lot of torque. A lot of torque. I mean, you know, hell, now you know you're driving a Lamborghini, and keep in mind, we're at 4K on the tag when she could go all the way to 8, right? Shifts really smooth, nice dual clutch. Just listen to that engine. I mean, that's it. You don't even need to shift, just listen to that. I mean, talk about a mechanical, glorious symphony. Wonderful sound. I mean, not too loud. This is stock, right, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, so no aftermarket exhaust. I don't know why guys put these, you know, rift exhausts on these things. I mean, to me, that sounds more than good enough. I honestly just don't know why you would need to go and shoot flames 6 feet out the back and piss off all your neighbors even more. I mean, that sounds more than spicy enough. Honestly, this is one of the loudest stock sounding cars I've probably ever been in. I mean, at 4,000, this is not even halfway up the tag hardly. It sounds that visceral and raw. Has a nice little backfire note, doesn't it? Very mid-engine, very balanced there. Interesting, she steps out just a little bit on half throttle there coming out of that turn. That's something that the LP610 will not do on you. Even though I'm in manual mode, the car will downshift for me, so. That's full throttle. I will tell you guys, it's a lot of car for the street. I mean, you really just can't enjoy this car that much without breaking the law. I mean, that was 75% throttle through second, 100% throttle through third, and just getting to fourth, and we're doing 90 miles an hour, right? So, you know, that's the problem with these modern supercars. I mean, that's half throttle when you're doing 90 from 70, right? And so, yes, you know, and I say this every time I review these cars, you really got to stop being a little, you know, poser and take it to the track. Because it's the only place you're really going to get to even 8/10 on this car. I mean, on the street, you're endangering your life, you're endangering somebody coming out of their driveway, right? And I know John's a world-class driver, and yes, there are places like this that you can enjoy these cars, but I mean, it's half throttle everywhere you go. I mean, I don't care care who you are, you're not getting 100% out of third or fourth or fifth gear because you're doing 100, 30, 40 miles an hour, and the only place you're going to be able to do that is on the highway. And yeah, I don't know. Having said that, it's fun. I mean, this car is a lot more playful than I was expecting. That rear engine bias car really lets you know that all the power is coming directly from the rear, and it's very balanced. I mean, that's half throttle, guys. I mean, and you're doing 72, right? So very, very, very fast car. Wow. I forget these Lamborghinis, these V10s, they're world-class engines. You definitely know you're in something fun. You know you're in something special just from the way it shifts, the way it sounds, right? Yeah, I mean, geez, a lot of power, a lot of performance for the street, no doubt about it. I mean, this is the kind of car that's going to definitely give you, we were just talking about it, some white knuckle experiences, especially when you get into the higher RPMs and the higher speeds, because there's not as much downforce on this car as there is on like the STO, right? But I mean, that's 120, like, I'm not trying to go to jail here, right? It's like, that's incredible amount of performance when you really rev the car out, right? And again, that's not even full beans, right? That's probably 90% of what it could give you. So again, just a lot of X factor and a lot of performance in this particular car. And you gotta know how to drive, guys, because if you don't appreciate it, she's gonna bite you. I really like the transmission. I mean, jeez. Yeah, look at it. So I will say, when you are around 3,000 RPMs and you shift, there's a little bit of a lag, right? It kind of gives you a little shove, but when you are banging it off the rev limiter or even close to it, it's just immediate shifts, right? So that's one thing to be mindful of, at least in sport mode. I'm sure in Strada mode it's even different. And we'll put that. Now this does turn ESC off, or it turns it into where it allows you to get a little bit more of a drift angle. I was reading all the press releases from Lamborghini about this specific car. The president was kind of boasting about the fact that this is like their drift version of the Huracan, because in the end of the day, the other one is an all-wheel drive car and it's designed to just go A to B as fast as possible, whereas this car was engineered to have some fun, let it kick out a little bit. I gotta say, guys, on first Corsa impression, it doesn't feel much different, at least on the downshifts. Interesting. On the upshifts, it's a little bit more violent, I'll give it that. So, sport seems to be the sweet spot. Because when you are going for it, like, again, that wasn't even full throttle, but just 70% or higher, it does tend to bang gears. Kind of reminds me of the SVJ, Jude's SVJ, when we were street racing the 2RS versus that car literally kicks you in the back every time you shift. It feels exactly like that. So let me try sport one more time, same kind of thing, just to feel it. Oh, that is the mode to be in right there, guys. Yeah, it is butter. So I can see why you did the rally in sport mode. That's really interesting why they programmed Corsa to hit so hard. It almost felt faster in sport mode, didn't it? I mean, like shifting wise, right?
Well, it's definitely faster in Corsa. It's great for the track.
All right. This is actually a good spot to do this, guys. So we'll go down to second. Man, it's violent. And I will say, when you let off the gas, the car actually kind of has a little shimmy to it. So the engine actually almost overpowers the rear tires in this car, and it really gives you a little sense of fun. I could see this car getting out of hand real quick, though. I mean, if you give like a 16-year-old this car and you just let him go for it, and he comes out of a turn like this and he mats it, he's going to go into the tree. I mean, grant you, if he's got the right mode, the car will probably save his bacon, but it's a little bit of an animal, this thing, more than I was actually anticipating. This seems to be the sweet spot for the fun factor. Like, this is just fun to drive. Like, I really enjoy that because it just, gives you a little bit of a sense of thrill. But I will tell you, sport modes, that's the way to go. I mean, feels like your Porsche PDK, right? Never cuts power, never kind of hits you in the rear. Just feels smooth and fun and fast. So yeah, that's the mode that John said he drives 90% of the time. And I mean, Corsa just feels, I don't even know if I would use Corsa on the track, honestly. I mean, maybe, but I'm not a fan of the way that it feels like it's so violent it's actually hurting the car, you know? Whereas that feels like where it was engineered to be the perfect mix of performance and smooth. And I will tell you, the more comfortable you feel in your sports car, the faster you're gonna go, right? The more confidence inspiring, and that Corsa mode just didn't make me feel that confident to push the car, right? Whereas when it's just smooth and butter, that's gonna keep the car nice and stable coming in and out of those turns, and hence it's gonna give you a little more confidence to push the car. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the content, enjoyed listening to John's thoughts about the Gold Rush Rally and his thoughts about the car, and enjoyed our point of view drive, through some country roads. Again, we do not endorse speeding. I highly recommend you take your exotic car to the racetrack, okay? We personally do a lot of track driving every single season, and the reality is we just don't have the opportunity to review cars at the track, right? It's too loud and the whole nine, so we kind of have to do street driving to show that. Let me sum up this car for you. I think the rear-wheel drive makes this car tremendously more playful, okay? When you're coming out of turns, you gotta be a good driver. You can't just mat the gas, especially in Corsa mode. I was also really surprised how different Strada was to Corsa. Strada is very butter, gushy, daily drivable. Sport seemed to be the perfect mix. Sport felt more PDK to me, where it would shift fast, never cut the power. As soon as you went into Corsa mode, which is race mode for them, it really hits like an SVJ. It kind of gives you that kick in the butt, right? Ooh, 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 every time you shift. Doesn't matter if you're at 7,000 or 3, it still had that jerkiness to it. Not really a fan of that, so sport mode was the perfect mix of both, right? Where it just shifted like butter. I said that multiple times in my POV drive. Overall though, the sound of the V10, guys, the V10 engine, that 572 horsepower, glorious V10, it's got plenty of performance, and it's got a lot of torque. So it's a fun car to drive because it's naturally aspirated and you have torque everywhere. Doesn't matter if you're at 3,000 RPMs or you're all the way at 7 or 8. It screams in either place, which is a really cool feature of this particular car. I think Audi torqued the 7-speed to be a little bit more torquey because of the rear engine bias. They wanted to make this a little more driftable. If you read their marketing materials, they say a lot of that, all right? This car, I will tell you, is fun between 3 and 6 all day long, so you don't feel like you have to be banging it off the rev limiter to pull out the power. Now, when you do, whew, the engine, the sound of this thing, my Lord, it's glorious, guys. And I do not, John and I were talking about this, we don't understand why people put these Rift exhausts on. Like, why? It sounds so loud inside, and when you're in the outside of the car, you have the windows down, it sounds even louder for everybody else, that's living around you. So your neighbors are gonna love you either way, okay? So I just don't get why people wanna put these aftermarket exhausts when it sounds so good and it's already dialed in from the factory. Now, let's talk a little bit about pricing and then we'll sum it up, right? For about 200 to 20 grand, 200, 230, depending on miles and spec, these have really held their value. I mean, think about it. They came out at an MSRP of roughly 200 grand, a little bit below that. Most were probably sold at 230, 240, and they're still the same damn price. So it's a really good store of value. If they're at 8.5% interest rates right now, and they're still holding their value, it goes to show you that the market, being us as consumers, appreciate the car, right? We appreciate the value that it offers. It's pretty obvious. And during COVID, these were 250, 260. They were literally at or even above MSRP. So now is a really good time to scoop one up because you can get a little bit off. You probably get 20, 30, 40 off MSRP. And that's how John was able to benefit from this car. You got a little off MSRP. It wasn't a 50% off. If you want that, you're gonna have to go with Aston Martin. You're gonna have to go with a British car. You can probably get that on a McLaren. But these Audi-based Lamborghinis hold their value because they're reliable, they're bulletproof, they offer a lot of fun, a lot of exoticness, for the money. So hopefully something I said in this video helped you. Hopefully you enjoyed our content. We'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. We try to do this every single week, at least during the car season. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch. If you thought we did an okay job, like I said earlier, go down, leave a comment, share it with a friend, and we look forward to talking to you on the next one. We'll talk to you later.